Our cad's bit of a strife, nee Bernice Maxwelton, with a quick ear for spittoons, as the after-tale hath it, gladed up as usual with domestic husbandry, no per six, and our millions for thee, Pomeranzia, but slipping the clav in a claw, broke as the matter among 111 others in her usual curtsy. How faint these first vespers womanly are, a secret pispigliandio, a mad laverdy den of their manfolker. The next night nudge one it as was, Hegger sippers over a hup of tea, her eyes dry and small and speech thickless, because he appeared a funny colour like he couldn't stood they old hens no longer, to a particular reverend, thy director whom she had been meaning in her mind primarily to speak with, hosh intra, just a timble spoon, trusting between coupled lips that Annie Lawrence promises might she never have Esney Kerry puddin' come, who know for her peculapitions, that the gospel so delivered in her epistolaria, very teetotally, in the Irish Jew would go no further than his Jesuit's cloth, yet in vinars venitas volatiles vela totum, it was this overspoiled priest Mr. Brown, designed as a Vincentian, who, when seized of the facts, was overheard in his secondary personality as a Nolan and under-eared pole soul, by accident. If that is the incident, it was accident, for here the roar of Ecclesiastes, of Hippo, outpuffs the ritus of Havabanana to Pianisma, a slightly varied version of Crooked Rib's Confidentials. What may alloys said but for Josephine's sake, hands between the hands, in fealty sworn, my braver best, my flower, and to the strains of the secret of her birth, hushly pierced the rube-gend orellum of one Philly Thurston, a lay teacher of rural science and orthophonetics, of a near stout figure and about the middle of his 40s, during a priestly flutter for safe and sane bets at the hippic run-fields of breezy Baldoyle on the date W.W. goes through the cald, easily capable of remembrance by all pickers-up of events national and Dublin details, the doubles of Perkin and Porlock, Pierre and Prole when the classic Encourage Hackney plate was captured by two noses in a stable cloth finish, Eck and neck, some and none, everlow neverlow, from the cream-cold bold boy Cromwell and aft clever getaway by Captain Chaplin's blounced Rohinny, St. Dalor, drummer coxswain, none to pick third at breakneck odds, thanks to you, great little bonny little, porty little Winnie Winger, you're all their nappies, who in his never-rip mud and purpular cap was surely leagues unlike any other phantom weight that ever top it, our timber maggies. 'Twas two pissonants, Timcoves, the wetter is pest, the wrens are over it and come, and the volks of the tougher is hurled at our land of the name of Trickle Tom. I was just out of pop, following the theft of a leg of Kehoe Donnelly and Pakenham's finished pork, and his own blood and milk brother, Frisky Shorty. He was to be exquisitely punctilious about them, both Shorty and Frisky, a tipster come off the hulks, both of them awful poor. What was out on the bum around for an oof-bird game, for a Jimmy's a goblin, or a small thicken, as chancel, while the Seaforth was making the colleen ball, to the ear passing in the motor clobber, make use of his law language, edso on, touching the case of Mr. Adams, what was it all the Sundays about it, which he was rubbing noses with and having to gurgle of his own along of the butty blokes in the specs. This Trickle Tom, to whom reference has been made, had been absent from his usual wild and woolly haunts in the land of counties Capellines for some time previous to that. He was, in fact, in the habit of frequenting common lodging-houses, where he slept in a nude state, hail fellow with meth, in strange men's cots. But on race night, blotto after divers tots of hellfire, Red Biddy, Bulldog, Blue Ruin and Creeping Jenny, Egladine's choicest herberts, supplied by the duck and doggies, the galloping primrose, Bridget Brewsters, the cocks, the postboys' horn, the little old man's and all swelled at Emswell, the cup in the stirrup, he thought that was well warmed, leave babode, but in the house he grew abide with one another at Block WW. Why didn't he back it? Pumped court the liberties, and what with Voltapuke on Voltapuke, rest not alcohol coherently to the burden if I come my horse delayed, num, the substance of the tale of the evangelical busybody, and there wasn't no burn. The girls he would keep calling them for the collarette, the skirt, and the sunbonnet and carnation. In parts it seemed he was before the Iots of Martyrs, or other worlds the thirds of fossil years. He having behammed with Katya when Lavinia's had her men's lease to sea in a pump ship doodly show, whereat he was looking to fight niggers with wild roars. Oft in the chilly night, the metagonistic, the epic thalamus, during uneasy slumber in their hearings of a small and stony-browed cash-draper's executive, Peter Cloran discharged. O'Mara, an ex-private secretary of no fixed aboard, locally known as Mildew Leeser, who had passed several nights furnished enough in a doorway under the blankets of homelessness on the bunk of Iceland, pillowed upon the stone of destiny, colder than a man's knee or a woman's breast, and host he no sledge of a name, an ill-starched beach busker who, sans rooty and sans scrapey, suspicioning as how he was setting on a toadstool on the verge of self-abyss. Most starved with melancholia over everything in general. Knight Bearman, who served him with Nattigal's nano, had been towhead tossing on his shakedown, devising ways and manners of means of what he loved to infidelize somehow or other. In the nation, getting a hold of some chap's parabellum in the hope of taking the wing, sociable and lighting upon a side-wheel dive somewhere off the Dulkey Downleary and bleak rookie Tramaline, where he could throw through and go and blow the sipsiddle napper off himself. For 2 bits the boldly well baltitude in the peace and quiet bus of a one sure-shot bottle, he, after having been trying all he knew with the lady's help of Madame Gristle, of upwards of 18 calendars, to get out of St. Patrick's Dun through Sir Humphreys Jervis and into the St. Kevin's bed in the Adelaide hospitals. From these incurable Wellers among those incurable Wellers days, through Santiago by his cockle hat, Gut laser, deliver us, without after having been able to wrangle if any sides, Lisa O'Dearus and Roach Morgan, who had been so much in common epicidally, if the phrase be permitted, hostess set odour in super petro perfractus, as an understood thing, slept their sleep of the swimborn in the one sweet undulant mother of Tom LeBunks with hosty, just how the shavers in the shore, the yokels in the yachts are well the wasters in the wild, and the bustling tweeny dawn of all works, mead of anthems, here we pant. Had not been many jiffies furbishing potlids, store brasses, scholars, apple cheeks and link boys' metals, when ash hopper minded, like no fellow who go make back and beg fuss, longer white man, the rejuvenated busker, for after a good night rave and a rumble and a shin scams, top morning with his correxes, he was not the same man, and his broad-awake bedroom suite, our boys, as Byron called them, were up in a shuffle from the Hog's Home they loved named the Barrel, across Eblin's chilled hamlet, thry roots and restings on their then superficies, curiously corresponded with those linear and puncture where our tubbly harmony, metro manor plums, below the overflake underrails and stations at his time of riding to the thrumming of a cruise fiddle, which cremoning and crononing, lavy gravy, witty and wavy, happy and lappy and playable, caressed the ears of the subjects of King Saint Affinity, the festive, who in brick homes of their own, and in their flavoury, Fraserbury beds, heeding hardly half past at sweep, and after a brisk pause, at a pawnbroking establishment for the pathetic purpose of redeeming the songster truly admirable false teeth, and a prolonged visit to a house site of the statue, this more correctly Lubin, or fellow, Melida, was first poured forth when Rio Livia riots and Col de Huda humps under the shadow of the monument of the should-have-been legislator. Olertha Rio dead one, spare woodman spare to an overflow meeting of all the nations in Leinster, fully filling the visional area, and as a single-minded supercrowd, easily representative what with masks, wet with faces of all sections and cross-sections, wine shop and cocoa house, poured out to brim up the broaching of our Livyside people. To omit to mention of the mainland minority, and such as had wayfared via Watling, Ernin, Icknield, and Stain, in chief a halted cockney car with its quotal of Hardmut's hacks, a northern Tory, a southern Whig, an East Anglian chronicler, and a Land-Vesta Guardian, ranging from slips of young Dublinos from Kirkpuss Road, having nothing better to do than walk about with their hands in their knee-pants, sucking air-whackers, weed to illicit, jumbo bricks side by side with truant officers, 3 woolen balls, and poppling in search of a croust of porn, to busy professional gentlemen, a brace of palesmen with Dundrearies, nooning toward dailies, fresh from snipe hitting and mallard missing, on Rutland Heath, exchanging cold sneers, mask-going ladies from Hume Street in their chairs, the bearers baited, some wandering hammerlags out of their adjacent clover fields, of Moss's Garden, and oblate farther from Skinner's Alley, bricklayers, a Fleming, intabident fumant, with spouse and dog, an aged hammersmith, who had some chisellers by the hand, a bout of cudgel players, not a few sheep with the braxy, 2 blue-coat scholars, 4 broke gents out of a Simpson's on the rocks, a portly and a pert, still tossing turkey coffee, an orange shrub in Tick-High's door, Peter Pym and Paul Fry, and then Elliot and Atkinson, suffering hell's delight from the blains of their annuitants, acorns, not forgetting a deuce of Diana's, riding for the hunt, a particular prebendary pondering on the Roman Easter, the tonsure quested, and Greek initiates, plunkum, a lace-lapped head, or 2 or 3 or 4 from a window, and so on down to a few good old souls, who, as they were juiced after taking the pledge over at the uncle's place, were evidently under the spell of liquor, from the wake of Tari the tailor's, the fair girl, a jolly postal boy, thinking of 3 flagons and 1, a plum o'drole, a half sir, from the weaver's armhouse, who clings and clings, and chat clings to her, a whole damn's cloud-hewn petticoat, as child, as cumulator, as Couch O'Leary, the Warrahow went around, as it did a nation once a gaze, and the ballad in the fellabrain, trancoped meter, affectioned by Tayo Sibo in his Casudos, de Pulcinello Artihoot, stamp head, on a slip of Blancovide, and headed by an excessive ruff and red woodcoat, privately printed at the rhyme press of Delville, soon fluttered its secret on white highway and brown byway, to the rose of the winds and the blue of the gales, from archway to lattice and from black hand to pink ear, village crying to village, through the 5 Pussyfors green of the United States of Scotia Picta, and he who denies it, may his hairs be rubbed in dirt, to the added strain so pussyfold of His Majesty the Flute, that one coon king of instruments, pickets purest, Cielo al Zolito, which Mr. Delacy, horn, anticipating a perfect downpour of plaudits among the rhapsods, piped out of his decent sort hat, looking still more like his Percival namesake, as men of Gaul noted, and before of two sput about the snowy crest curl amongst the leader's wild and molting hair, Ductor Hitchcock hoisted his fezzy fuzz at bludgeon's height signum to his companions of the chalice of the loud fellows, boys and silentium in cura, our maypole once more where he rose of old, and the canto was chanted there, chorused and christened, where by the old tollgate, senate and owners, street and church. And around the lawn the run it ran, and this is the run that Hosty made, spoken Boyles and Carhills, Skerritts and Pritchards, fiercified and piercified, may the tree retail of live in Stony. Here line the refrains of some vote him Vicar, some mote him Mike, some dub him Line and Finn, while others hail him Lug Bug Dunlop, Lex Lax Gun or Gwyn, some apt him Hearth, some bapt him Bath, Call Null, Sol Will Wall, but I pass him Perce O'Reilly, else he's called no name at all. Together, leave it to Hosty, Frosty Hosty, leave it to Hosty. For he's the man to rhyme the ran, the king of all runs. Have you here some ha? Have we here some hunt? Have you heard others do? Have we weird, others don't? It's coming, it's brumming, the clip, the clop, all clar, glass crash. The click, cack, clack, cack, clack, lask. Akalo, pats, clat, Shabbat, decrepicoti, gradag semisambehun, Nuan a plud, a pladdy, paconk, cot, arditi, music cue, the ballad of Perce O'Reilly. Have you heard of one Humpty Dumpty, how he fell with a roll and a rumble, and curled up like old Lord Oliver Cromwell by the butt of the magazine wall, hump helmet and door. He was one time our king of the castle, now he's kicked about like a rotten old parsnip, and from Green Street he'll be sent by order of his worship to the penal jail of Mountjoy, to the jail of Mountjoy, jail him and joy. He was the father of all schemes for to bother us, slow coaches and immaculate contraceptives for the populace, mare's milk for the sick, 7 dry Sundays a week, open air love and religions reform, hideous in form. Arrah, why says you couldn't he manage it? I'll go bail my fine dairyman darling, like the bumping bull of the Cassidys, all your butter is in your horns. His butter is in his horns, butter his horns. Hurrah there, Hosty Frosty, change that certainly, rhyme the Ran, the king of Rans, Bulbaccio, Bulbaccio. We had a chops, chairs, chewing gum, the chicken pox in China chambers, universally provided by the soaping Coleman. Small wonder he'll cheater one, our local lads nicknamed him, when Chimpton first took the floor, with his bucket shop store, down Bargainberg slower. So snug he was in his hotel premises, sumptuous, but soon we'll bonfire all his trash tricks and trumpery, and 'tis short till Sheriff Clancy'll be winding up his unlimited company, with the bailiff's bum at the door, bim bam at the door, then he'll bum no more. Sweet bad luck on the waves washed to our island, the hooker of that hammerfast Viking, and gulls cursed on the day when a Blarney Bay saw his black and tan man of war, on the harbour bar, where from rules Poolbeg cooked a pence he bawled, done a mascamtittle wick and wimpin fimpany, Fingal Macosk, one sign Barges, Boniface, Thok, Min Gamelhole, Novigicus Monica, Agazai, Ord Gamelol, Novigicus Cord, and Norwegian Camelol Cord, he is begod. Lift it, Hosty, lift it, ye devil ye, up in the rhyming run. It was during some freshwater garden pumping, or according to the nursing mirror, while admiring monkeys that heavyweight heathen Humphrey make bolder maid to woo, what she'll do. The general lost her maiden Lou. He ought to blush for himself, the old hay-headed philosopher, for to go and shove himself that way on top of her, begobby's the crux of the catalogue of our antediluvian zoo, Messrs. Billing and Coo, Noah's larks good as new. He was jolting by Wellington's monument, our rotorious hippopotamus, when some bugger let down the backdrop of his omnibus, and he caught his death of Fusiliers, with his rent in his rears, gave him 6 years. 'Tis sore pity for his innocent poor children, but look out for his missus legitimate, when that fool gets a grip of old dear Wicker, won't there be earwigs on the green, big earwigs on the green, the largest ever you've seen. Sophocles, Shakespeare, Sododanto, Anonymoses. Then we'll have a free trade Gales band and mass meeting, for to sod the brave son of Scandinavia, and we'll bury him down in Oxman's town, along with the devil and Danes, with the deaf and dumb Danes, and all their remains. And not all the king's men, nor his horses, will resurrect his corpus, for there's no true spell in Connacht or hell, that's able to raise a cane.